Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Stranger Things 2, the second season of Stranger Things, shockingly enough. A show that I absolutely adore. I finally got a chance to check this out, and I couldn't be happier with the results. I will say I do think that the first season is slightly better, slightly more interesting, but I also love this season. I love where it went. I thought a lot of the characters were absolutely fantastic. I love where they took a lot of the characters that we already had known, and I thought some of the characters that were introduced were fantastic. And I just adored this. I mean, it absolutely picks up where the first season left off, and you know, you have all these four boys still together. The four friends. They're the kind of nerds, and they get put in kind of a similar situation to the first season, where their buddy Will is in peril, and once Will is in peril, it's just the three of them that are concerned. And throughout the rest of the series, they're trying to figure out how to help him, and they bring in a lot of the characters from basically all the characters from the first season that are still around. They all get involved in trying to fix the situation and protect this little town from this otherworldly being that's going to come and take over and wants to basically rule the world, and these creatures that are all over the place that are very deadly, and it just kind of goes from there. I'd say the easiest way to kind of look at the kind of the tenor of the show, I should say, and the quality of it is kind of look at the character arcs of a lot of the characters. And I loved where they took a lot of these people. I mean, Joyce, right off the hop, I would say she's the lead character in it. She's the mother of Will, a kid who has been through a lot and continues to be through a lot in this film. And the show, I keep saying film because it feels like a film because it's so cinematic, but a show, obviously. And you can absolutely relate to her. I think being a parent, and I'm not saying that you have to be a parent to be able to relate to her, but the idea of a parent being put through this situation where she feels to a large degree kind of helpless to be there for her son and to save him from this situation, but at the same time, as the show progresses, and just like in the first one, she's very resourceful and intelligent, and she has a lot of more faith than a lot of other people, and she pushes things, and she is a major portion of the reason why both the events in both seasons play out the way they do. And I adore her character and just the resilience that she has. Like, there's moments where, as any parent would feel just absolutely horrified dealing with the situation she's in, but the inner strength that she possesses to push through, and especially, and even in moments where other family members are struggling with the situation, I thought was absolutely great. Aside from her, I'd say the next biggest character would have to be Hopper, the police chief, who I thought was cool. He has this connection to Joyce, but also the connection to everybody. He takes his job very seriously, and he's very emotionally involved with this situation because, one, he's a protector. He seems to be born to be a protector, and he wants to protect all these kids and all these adults and everybody in their life. But he also has a very intimate connection to one of them in particular, based off of a situation that happened in his personal life previous. And I thought that the way that all was handled was great. I love the actor who plays him, David Harbour. I think he absolutely kills it. He's a great character because he's very complicated. He does have a lot of anger within him, but at the same time he's all protection, but there's also he's not the smartest guy in the room by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of situations where he just kind of wants to rush in and try to take control, but he's not necessarily the best person for the job. And I thought the way that all played out, it was very, very well written and awesome. Eleven's back, of course, and I love her character. It's very, very cool. I mean, the restraint that they have in the writing of her character, where she she doesn't talk a lot. She definitely comes off like somebody who is damaged by the things that she's been through, and at the same time she's also this fish out of water who's trying to kind of come to understand the world around her, and needs shepherding in that regard, and she's always looking for a place to belong, but never feels like she quite finds it unless she's with Mike, and the way that whole thing plays out is great. I loved where they took her character, the understanding of who she was that you have at the end of the season season is a great deal more than what you had the first season, even though I thought she was very well written there as well. But they've really fleshed out her character to a large degree, made us understand like the nature of her abilities even more. I thought they absolutely did a fantastic job there. And the four fellas, Will, Lucas, Dustin, and Mike, of course, I mean, they're absolutely great. There's the camaraderie that they always have on screen is always fantastic. And you know, you look at all the characters individually, they're all very strong in their own regard. I will say one of my bigger disappointments with this season was I didn't love the way that Mike was used. I wish he had a little bit more to do, because he was, to a large degree, the main character in the first season, whereas I thought he took much more of a backseat here, which, you know, isn't necessarily a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. I thought the way they played his character was very realistic, intelligent, and well written. I mean, he feels like he's been stripped of a lot of the leadership dynamic that he had in the first season, and he's trying to kind of figure out his place, not only within the friend group but within life itself. And he you know, he's struggling a great deal with the fact that he doesn't have an 11 in his life for a great deal of the season. I thought his character, like I said, very intelligently written, but at the same time, you know, I did miss that leader quality that he had in the first season. But again, it's very, very understandable. Dustin, I mean, oh man, that kid is just such a sweetheart. You just absolutely love him in this season. He's to me one of the two or three real breakout characters, just like he was in the first season. He's every bit as lovable as he was there. He's just absolutely great. All the storylines with him are fantastic, and he's got this real open heart to him, and he's a very loving dude, and they did such a great job with him. I really liked where they took Lucas in this season, because I thought in the first season I really liked Lucas. I thought he was a very interesting character, but he was a downer to a certain degree, and I thought, you know, I didn't mind that whatsoever, because I thought a lot of the ways in which, you know, he was kind of bringing things down was a lot more realistic. I mean, his reactions to things, like the way he felt about 11, made all the sense in the world, because, you know, you're not in real life, if somebody all of a sudden popped up into your world that had the abilities that she had, you're not gonna, you know, trust that right away. You are gonna, a lot of people would be very freaked out about it, and maybe you'd hope that he would be kinder to her throughout, but his reactions were understandable. Whereas in this, you know, a lot of that element is gone. He's already accepted the world as it is, and his place in it, and he's very fiercely loyal, and he has this love triangle with Dustin and this new character, and to see him be this kind of lovelorn kid who's trying to figure out girls for the first time in his life, I thought was absolutely great. I loved his character, and of course the dynamic he had with his little sister was absolutely hysterical. I mean, his little sister was hilarious. Just, yeah, the way that she'd come in and just completely bust on him made me laugh hysterically, and you know, I thought it was just great. And Will plays a much larger part in this. I mean, he was to a large degree the focus of the first season, but he was also absent, and which, you know, made sense from a storytelling point of view. But as a result, you know, you didn't necessarily come to understand his character all that much. Whereas in this, he is very much a great deal of the focus of the story, but he's there, so you have much more of a connection to him. And they bring back Mike's sister, Nancy, and her boyfriend is Steve, who, you know, a lot's been made about Steve coming out of this season, and I absolutely 100% agree. The guy is absolutely lovable. I love his character arc. I loved his character arc in the first season, where he started off as he's kind of like this jock who was kind of played like the stereotype of the, you know, the jock bully kind of kid who everybody would not like. But by the end of it, you realize he was a lot more nuanced than that, and that he didn't really want to be that. And when he showed up at the end, you know, the way they took that character, and then they really kept that arc going to a large degree in this season. He's extremely lovable and fantastic, and of course, I mean, he's got some of the best moments, and the whole KFC thing, that's absolutely hysterical. But and a bit more of it I'll touch on a little bit later. But Nancy, again, of course, is back, and I thought she was very, very good in this season. It was interesting because her and Jonathan Byers are in this season a great deal, like they were in the first season. And like in the first season, they do a lot of things together. And just like in the first season, I felt like a lot of the time the stuff that they were doing is very important to the story, especially where the story ends up going. But it also kind of feels like a side adventure. I find it interesting that they always give those two like this kind of like side things to do as a pair. But I thought that, you know, they were very entertaining together. They meet this reporter guy, or not reporter, but like investigator guy, and the kind of the interaction between them, and his instant understanding casting of them is very, very entertaining and awesome. And there's the way that their characters go. I kind of pictured a little bit different. I pictured them having a little bit more of a triumphant moment. That they have what you were looking for in the first season, but it's not as great as I'd hoped, and from a romantic point of view. So, they're good, but they're not great in my view. But once they kind of reconnect with the group again, I feel like they become a stronger dynamic in the series. And like I said before, they do add some new characters. There's a young girl named Max who I think is very interesting, and she's like a tough kid, and she's the one who has the romantic triangle with Lucas and Dustin, and I thought she was a very interesting character. At first I wasn't overly won over by her, because her anger felt like she was like this angsty teen that it kind of felt like a little bit more of a stereotype. But as as the show progressed and I came to understand why she was the way she was, it became a lot more interesting, and by the end of it you come to really like her character. And then she has a brother who's just a total prick, Billy, who I gotta say, one of the things, every time he was on the screen, I'm like, why is this guy supposed to be in high school? He looks like he's like 35 or something, or 30. And I looked it up afterwards. He's not, and it's funny because I did not realize it was the dude from the new Power Rangers movie until afterwards. But I thought he was solid. The most interesting moment with Billy comes when he meets Mike's mom, which I thought was a very interesting moment. I mean, Mike's mom was in the first season, and I thought played a much more interesting part of it. In this, she's much more in the backseat. She's barely in it, and I thought it was cool the way that they wrote her character to be like the only parent of the crew that seemed to have any real understanding of what was going on, and even she didn't really know a whole heck of a lot. But in this, she takes a lot more of a backseat, but she does have this really interesting moment with Billy where there's like sexual tension between the two of them, which I didn't really quite know how to take that. And then Matthew Modine is gone from this. He was the head of the basically the science lab that created 11, and he's been replaced by a character played by Paul Reiser, who I thought was very, very interesting. I mean, there is a lot of connections between this and Aliens and the way everything plays out. So to see Paul Reiser in it, an actor who was in Aliens, I thought was cool. But he plays a distinctly different character, where instead of being the guy who's all about the money and the corporation, he's much more concerned about the people. And he, at first you're not sure if you can trust him or not, but as the series plays out, you realize that he's a lot more kind-hearted than you necessarily expected at first. I thought was cool. And you meet another one of the experiments of the lab, 8 instead of 11, who Callie is her name. I thought she was interesting. I thought right off the hop, she's like the opening scene of the entire season is her using her abilities, and at first I was very interested to see where that goes, but I felt like once she actually kind of joined it, she seemed like more of a means to an end, and basically she was there in order to kind of push 11's story forward and make 11 understand who she is a little bit more. But other than that, she wasn't really all that useful, and they introduced a number of characters around her. It was kind of this almost like a bottle episode where it was this completely kind of side story that just really kind of informed where one of the main characters would go further, and so I thought that was a little bit of a disappointment, because I thought her character kind of had a lot of potential, and the dynamic between 8 and 11 I thought was pretty cool. But she could always come back in the next season and kind of pay that off a little bit more. But I'd say the new character that I loved by far the most was Bob. I mean, played by Sean Astin, an actor who I've loved in so many other things. I thought he absolutely killed it in this. He was so lovable and just so so earnest and fantastic. I loved his character. The whole Bob Newby superhero moment was just, your heart just absolutely swelled when that happened. He was just such a lovable dude, and I wish he was in it more, because he was just so entertaining, and maybe it's good that he wasn't, because it might have been the perfect amount, and I got so much out of him, so arguably it was good the way it was. But I just loved seeing him, so the part of me wants to see him more. And then they introduced some new mystic creature villains in this. You have what they call the Demodogs, which are basically like a version of the Demogorgons, and it's unclear whether it was just kind of like an evolutionary point where they would eventually become the Demogorgons, if they were completely different beings, or at least I took it to be kind of unclear. But at the same time, I thought they were very interesting, and I thought it was very cool that there was so many of them, and they played a lot. Like I said, that was one of the major connections between this and Aliens, because one, the way in which which they moved is very similar to the Xenomorphs, but also the fact that there were so many of them, and even the fact that they had like a moment where you basically seeing them come in based off their heat signatures. I mean, it was very clear that there was a lot of influence there, and I thought that they were very, very interesting, and the whole dynamic between one of them and Dart was very, very cool. I will say this: I think Demodogs is an alright name, but before they said the Demodogs thing whatsoever, I turned to my wife and said, "Oh, look, they're Dogagorgons," and I always thought that was I still think that's a better name. Dogagorgons is much more entertaining to me than Demodogs, but whatever. I mean, I'm not the writer. I guess they get to decide, but to me, they'll always be Dogagorgons, not Demodogs. And then they have like the Shadow Monster, who I thought was very interesting, a very intellectually stimulating idea, and the way in which that whole thing plays out. It's very, very cool. It's a lot more intellectual instead of being more having a more visceral villain like the Demogorgons, and the fact that it kind of has control over everything, and just the way that whole thing plays out is great. And at the beginning you do have a visceral reaction to the size of it as well. I thought it was a very, very well done. But from here on out, I'm going to touch on some spoiler stuff. So if you don't want to hear them, if you haven't watched it yet, I suggest you get off the ride here. I'm going to try to blast through them quickly because this video is getting pretty long for sure. But right off the hop, I mean, Steve and Dustin together are, I mean, just so fantastic. They're so entertaining, and it's such a kind of relationship that pops up out of nowhere, and I would never have expected it, but it's just so lovely and fantastic, and the affection between the two of them, and the way Dustin looks up to Steve, and the whole hair thing at the end where he's trying to look like him. I mean, when he's running around at the end, he's trying to find the something, and it turns out to be the hairspray. I just started laughing, and I mean, they're just, even the fact that like Steve is dropping him off at the dance. I mean, it's just so lovely, and just Steve's whole character where he's kind of like the babysitter of the guys as it goes on. I mean, I thought it was great. Steve is just so fantastic in this, and then like I said before, I absolutely loved Bob, and it was the way that whole character played out, where he like I said, the Bob Newby superhero stuff was fantastic, but the fact that he ended up being like the hero of that whole one episode where he had to go through and he explains to Hopper that he may be the big tough guy basically, but he's got the brains, and that he needs to have the brains in order to restart the whole system. And when he's going off, I mean, through the entire episode where the sequences where he's trying to get away from the Demodogs, I mean, it's just so your heart's just pounding, and you're holding out hope for him. And then course, when sadly he doesn't make it, when he gets attacked, it was just like such an oh no moment, not Bob. Oh, it was so, and like even when he first gets attacked and Hopper's going in and trying, like you just want him to make it so bad, and it's so heartbreaking that he doesn't. I mean, like Barb obviously dies in the first season, and that was sad or whatever, but I did not have nearly the emotional investment in her that I had in Bob. It was so sad that he died, and he was such a, I mean, just so great. But and the fact that they finally got to the snowball dance and the 11 and Mike dancing together, and just like the clear affection between the two of them was just so lovely to see. And then of course, like I said, Bob died, who was the boyfriend of Joyce throughout, and they kind of at the end, the Joyce and Hopper are having a moment together. It was interesting to see. In the first season, I personally wanted to see them get together, but I'll say in this season I did not want them to get together at all, because I wanted Bob. And then but for me, the Hopper moment that really ruled this season, and for me probably the most emotionally affecting, other than possibly the death of Bob, was the scene between Hopper and 11. I thought when they're talking, when they're in the last episode where they're driving and he's kind of explaining the fact that he feels like he's a black hole. I mean, it's just such an emotionally wrought scene, and just absolutely fantastic. I loved this season. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and I can't wait for more. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, and if you are new here or you haven't done it yet, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. Please hit like, hit share. Other people will find out about this. I'm trying to do this quick because I want to get out, because this is really long. But other than all that, have yourself a good day. Bye.